Guys, specifically guys. Have you ever asked a woman when she's due and she wasn't?
Nope.
The average guy, on average, does this once. Thank God I'm below average. So we all have these moments, right, where and they're not very fun, where we say something and it's like, well, my words are out there. I can't take them back. They're just there. We've said it. It's there, right? And God's given us the ability to use this button, pause, when really what we want is this button, rewind. Right? And the reason we wish we had a rewind button is because we all understand that words have power. They're powerful. And that once you say them, once they're out there, there's no taking them back. All of us here in some way, shape, or form, our lives have been shaped by the words that have been spoken to us, the words that have been spoken over us, and the words that have been spoken about us. Our childhoods were shaped by the words our parents spoke to us. Our marriages and our relationships were shaped, or are being shaped by the words that we use in them, right? Words impact our self-confidence. People with no self-confidence whatsoever have had amazing self-confidence all of a sudden because of the words that somebody spoke into their life. And vice versa. People that have had amazing self-confidence have lost all confidence in themselves because of something that was said to them. And the really challenging part about words is that they're not equally weighted, right? In fact, how many more positive words does it take for you to counteract just one negative word?
Lots.
The answer is lots. That's correct. Good job. You read my notes? And it could even be possible more words than you could even say depending on what words were used. We rarely forget hurtful things that were said to us, words that were said to us, because they stick to us, they stick with us. But how difficult is it to recall the last positive things that we said about you? Right? This is like that moment where your grandparents or your dad or your mom or something or a mentor is sitting there and they say, hey, come here. I need to talk to you about something. It's really important. I don't ever want you to forget this. Statistically speaking, people remember having a conversation, but they have no clue what they were supposed to remember. But the funny thing is, that same conversation, you can exactly recall what the last negative thing that person told you about yourself. Because those hurtful, mean, destructive words, we just remember them. They stick with us. For example, I love my dad. I want you all to understand that before I get into the story. I love my dad very much. He's my dad. He made me the person I am today because of the way he brought me up, okay? I was at my dad's second wedding, and it was at a bar, like a little lakefront bar thing. And there was probably a lot more alcohol being drank than they knew to drunk, but there was a keg that nobody could tap. They couldn't get the cap on there, whatever. Probably shouldn't be telling you guys this at church about myself, but here we go. So me and my sister, the Shepherds, we walk over to that keg, and we get the keg tap in there, and we get it going, we get all the foam out, and now there's even more alcohol, so everybody's having more fun, except for me and my sister. Well, maybe my sister, not me. I don't really drink. But what I remember out of the whole incident is what my dad said. And my dad strictly looked at everybody there and said, look, my kids are only good for tapping the keg. And that's what I remember. I can't tell you the last positive thing my dad said about me, but I'll never forget he said that about me and my sister. And since words aren't equally weighted, it takes a whole lot more positive words to overcome those negative ones, right? And not only are words not equally weighted, but the source of those words are not equally weighted. For example, I'm a boss. I'm a general foreman for an electrical contractor. I have guys that work underneath me. My words weigh 150 pounds. If somebody messes up, sometimes it's smarter for me to send somebody that's underneath me to go tell them that they need to fix their stuff, because it won't demoralize them nearly as much as if I tell them they messed up. Right? Moms, your words weigh like 500 pounds. Now let me get perfectly clear, guys. I'm talking about the weight of your words, not your weight. The weight of your words. Okay? Let's make that clear, okay? Your words have impact on your kids. And the weird thing is that dads, when it comes into relationships of parenting and kids, dads, your words weigh more than anything when it comes to your relationship with your kids, even more than the moms. And there's this story that I heard that there was a guy that was mentoring this lady that went through this really bad. She got pregnant as a teenager in high school. Then she kind of, because of that, her parents kind of shunned her, and she was, into drugs and stuff. But through her relationship with this church, her life spun around, and she got into college. She got a really good job to supply for her kids. And the pastor there was telling her, look, you're so amazing. You're doing so great. Look where you came from 5 years ago. You're not the same person. You're so much better. And this young lady looked at the pastor straight in the face and said, I wish my dad would tell me that. As if, Pastor, your words are great and they're super encouraging, but you're not my dad. And not only are the words weighted differently and the source of the words weighted differently, but the recovery time from those words is weighted differently. But what I'm saying here is, when you say something that's hurtful, it hurts when? Right now. It's immediate. When you say something hurtful, those words hurt immediately. But it doesn't matter how many words you say to the contrary of what was hurtful, there is no immediate healing for those words. None whatsoever. You say things like, but I said I'm sorry. And I'm really sorry. Well, more to the point, with the implications that you're saying, why aren't we fine now? Why aren't we back to where we were before I said those words? I said something stupid. You called me on it. I said I'm sorry. Why are we not back to even? Okay, let me explain to you. If you slam your friend's hand in your door, then you open the door and you go, I'm sorry, does that fix your friend's hands? Nope. You still got to take your friend and his mangled fingers to the emergency room. Right? It doesn't fix the problem. It's the same with your words. Right? It doesn't make the hurt go away. It doesn't make it go away. The recovery time is not weighted the same. You can do more damage with your words than you can do with any other part of your body or anything else that you physically have control over. Think about it. You can destroy somebody with words, and you don't even have to be in the same room they're in. Now, James, the brother of Jesus, has something to say about the power of words. Right? Now, if I had to guess, your greatest regrets relationshiply and my greatest regrets relationshiply could have probably been avoided had we taken heed and noticed to what James talks about in the book of James, right? So we're going to pick it up, and we're going to start off James chapter 3, verse 2. It starts off like this. Indeed, we all make main mistakes. And if I was at a Baptist church, and I'm not knocking the Baptists, I would have got a loud amen, because that's the absolute truth, and they love the truth. There you go, right? Amen. We all make mistakes, okay? For if we could control our tongues, we would be perfect. What do you mean perfect, James? We could also control ourselves in every other way. In other words, gain control of your mouth, gain control of your tongue, gain control of your words, and you can keep your entire body out of trouble. I'm going to say that again, okay? Gain control of your tongue, your words, your mouth, and you can gain control over your entire body, head to toe.
Amen.
That's how powerful your words are. Okay, teacher James, can you explain that? I don't quite understand. Can you explain that? Can you give me? Absolutely. Illustration number 1. Something that comes from his time. Some of you might understand this, some of you won't, because we don't deal with horses. I know Joni had horses, so she probably understands this a lot better than most of us, okay? You can make a large horse go wherever you want by the means of a small little bit in its mouth. Now, I don't know how many of you have ever tried to put a bit in the mouth of a horse, but it's not always the easiest thing to do. Right? But the amazing thing is, when you do get the bit in the mouth, the average weight of a 29 to 39-year-old American is about 180 pounds. Ladies, blame Google. I didn't come up with the statistics. Again, that's Google. 180 pounds for the average 29 to 39-year-old person in America. That average 180 person on the back of a horse that weighs somewhere between 500 and 2,000 pounds can make that animal do whatever it wants with a bit in its mouth. Picture this, James would say. Your 12-year-old niece. I'm saying girls because every girl wants a pony, right? Yes. Your 12-year-old niece, 90 pounds soaking wet, right? On the back of a 1,500-pound horse. And the trainer hands that 90-pound girl the reins to that horse, and nothing happens. Because she has complete control over that horse because of a small bit in its mouth. Right? Because if you control the mouth, you control the entire animal. You don't like that example? Jan's got more. Let's talk about boats. How many of you like boats? I like boats. I'm a water person, right? A small rudder makes a huge ship turn wherever the pilot chooses to go, even though the winds are strong. Now, he's not talking about our boats. He's talking about first century Roman merchant boats. Something that looks similar to that, okay? That's more of a drawing of one. It's not a picture. Really don't have pictures, they all say. Now these ships would hold somewhere around 200 people and tons of cargo as they traveled throughout the Roman Mediterranean to take their supplies and trade them in different ports. And what James is saying is it doesn't matter, even in a storm with really strong winds that catch those big sails, that little piece of wood that's sticking in the water can make that big ship go wherever that pilot wanted it to go. And here's the point. Small part, huge influence. Small part, big influence. James is saying that though the bit in the horse or the rudder in the water is not proportionate in size, they have monumental influence on the larger part of the equation. Just like your mouth has monumental influence on your life. Don't like that one either? We got more. Illustration number 3. Fire. I like fire. It's really unfortunate, but I like fire, okay? In the same way, the tongue, or just a bit about your tongue, right? Or the rudder in the water, same way, the same way as the rudder in the water or the bit in the mouth, right? Your tongue, let's be honest, it's a little gross, right? Your tongue is one of the smallest parts of your body, comes in at a whopping 4 inches long. Human tongue, average 4 inches long, okay? It's one of the ugliest parts of your body, and most people don't want to see it. That's why God gave us teeth. And something so small has the potential to change the direction of your life. Now here's something to chew on. There are 8 muscles in your tongue. Those 8 muscles never get tired, they never wear out, and they never become exhausted. And that doesn't surprise anybody in this room, right? You can go to the gym and completely destroy your body head to toe, and you'd be laying on the couch not being able to move, and you would still be talking. Because your tongue never wears out. Right? So in the same way, the tongue, that small piece, right, is a small thing that makes grand speeches. That's the potential to do great good with your words. It has great potential. Or great damage. What kind of damage, they would say. But a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. Something so small, something so vast. Something so small. There should be another picture. Something so vast. Look at the damage in California right now with the forest fires. It doesn't matter what started it. If you look at the amount of damage, there is no correlation to the amount of damage done based off of the size of what starts it. Even if it was one tree that got struck by lightning that burned the entire forest down, that one tree fails to be the size of the entire forest that got destroyed. Just like something so small can cause so much damage, it's not proportional. I don't remember to take that home. Among all the body parts of your body, the tongue is a flame of fire. It's a whole world of wickedness. He says, he's so negative right here. He's trying to get the people he's with to understand that he's writing to. He's trying to get us to understand that your tongue, your mouth, your words have the potential to do endless evils. Its own world of wickedness. Just think about it. Think about this. Every kind of evil that we see today can be caused by words. Divorces can be caused by the words that are spoken in the relationship. Murder can be caused by the words that are spoken during some kind of transaction. Come on, really? I mean this, come on.
Amen.
Wars between countries have been fought over words that were spoken. And James is like, I'm not done, it's getting worse. Okay? Those words can corrupt your entire body. Come on, let's be real. We all have stories where our tongues, our words, our mouths have gotten our entire body in trouble. Parents, when your kid starts running their mouth, do you put their mouth in timeout or do you put the entire kid in timeout?
Yeah.
Do you ground your teenager's mouth when they're running their mouth or do you ground the entire teenager? Right? I've never heard anybody say, I divorced his mouth. I divorced her mouth. No. You divorced the person. Your words, your mouth, your tongue, it gets your entire body in trouble. And those words have the power to determine the direction of your life. It has the potential, as James says, it can set your whole life on fire. James says that your words, as your words go, so goes your life. As your words go, so goes your relationships. And your words have the power to set your life and your relationships on fire and burn them to the ground. Amen.
Amen.
Yo, excited about this. I can see it in your faces. And we understand this, right? Because isn't it true? And I'm betting, if I was a bet man, I'd say everybody here, not most of us, I would say all of us, have scorched the ones we love most with the words that we've spoken into their lives. Parents, you've scorched your kids by the sarcastic words that you use towards them, and you didn't even mean to. Husbands, wives, you've scorched the one you love most that you swore to be with for your entire life by the words you spoke in your relationship. And then we get confronted about the words that we used, and what do? We defend ourselves. Well, what do we defend ourselves with?
Words.
More words. Well, I was just being honest. I was mad. I was drunk. I didn't mean it. And most of you are probably smarter than me up here, but I'm up here, so deal with it. If you start a fire accidentally, you're still responsible for the fire you started.
Yeah.
If you start a fire with your words that you speak in a relationship, whether it's business, family, kids, whatever, you are responsible for the fire that you started.
It's good. Ouch.
Yeah, you're welcome. And just to make sure you understand, James goes really deep. James says that fire that you start with your tongue, those toxic words that you spew out, your mouth and all its negative potential is actually set on fire by hell itself. Hell, when he's talking about hell here, the word hell, he's not talking about a place of torment like we think of when we think about hell. He's actually talking about the place of the source of all evil. So sometimes you wonder when you say something, where did that come from? And James is telling you, I'm telling you, it comes from within you. There's something that is in you that is evil, and it's set on fire by the source of all evil. I got smart this week. You're welcome. Gotta look good for the camera. And it has the potential. Yeah, sorry. It has the potential to do a lot of harm, right? And James will be like, I'm not done yet. We're still going to keep going. People can tame all kinds of animals, birds, reptiles, and fish. And when James says tamed here, he's talking about subduing, not domesticating. Okay? People can tame, can subdue all kinds of animals, birds, reptiles, and fish. But no one, say that with me, no one can tame the tongue. No one. No one is able to tame their tongue. James is telling you right here that your tongue is untamable. And this is the brother of Jesus. Your tongue, my tongue, will never be fully domesticated. It will never be fully under your control. There will always be an unpredictable factor when it comes to the words that you speak. Still not done. It is a restless and evil, full of deadly poison. This is a very powerful picture he's painting. Your tongue is volatile. Your tongue should come with a warning label attached to it. Just think about it. I could literally stand up here today and destroy my pastoral role over New Day Church by the words that I speak to you. There could literally be a meeting because all three of the elders are actually here this morning in the back of this church saying, hey, we got to get him out of here by the words that I speak to you this morning. That's the power of the words James is trying to get us to understand, right? Then James breaks into some illustrations about how unpredictable the tongue really is. Some of you are guilty of what James is getting ready to talk about just on your drive to church this morning. Some of you will be guilty about it on your way home, and some of you might make it to later this afternoon because I'm pointing it out to you now. Okay? And here's what James says. Sometimes it praises the Lord and Father, and sometimes it curses those who have been made in the image of God. You come to church on Sunday mornings and you sing those incredible songs. I love Jesus, yes I do, I love Jesus, how about you? And then you get in your car, you sit down for lunch, and you say you love God, but then you treat the people God loves like they're garbage.
Yikes. Ouch.
You're so demeaning. You're so critical. You're so sarcastic. Think about it. That's what James said. And so, blessings and cursings pull out of the same mouth. James, this is that part where James says, hey, lean in. Kind of important. Pay attention. Surely, my brothers and sisters, this is not right. This doesn't make any sense. How can somebody say they love God with their words and then turn around and not love those God loves? Then James asks a question. Does a spring of water bubble out with both fresh water and bitter water? And everybody around James was like, well, no, of course that doesn't happen. James was like, you see, I'm making a point here. Your tongue is something miraculous, isn't it? Your tongue does something that we don't see anywhere else in all of nature, in all of the world that God created. Your tongue is the one thing that can do something that nothing else in nature can do. Two completely different things coming out of the same source. Does a fig tree produce olives? Does a grapevine produce figs? Again, everybody's like, no. James is like, it's so unnatural what your mouth, what your words can do. No. You cannot draw fresh water from a salty spring. James is saying that there is something uniquely, disturbingly wrong with our mouths. And then what happens next is a shock. The end. It seems like when you're reading through the book of James at this point, like he changed topics completely. Now the great thing is if you apply everything after this to your words, it works. But it's almost like James completely diverts, talking about words, and then he goes a completely different way. And I believe he did this on purpose. I believe the reason James does this is because he wants you to understand that there is no once and for all solution to your words. There is no, once you've learned this, you're done. There is no, once you mature enough, you're done. There is no, once you become of age, you're done. Solution for your tongue, your mouth, and your words. James ends this way to let you know that this is a constant thing. There's a constant potential for both great good and great evil that sits on the balance of the words that you speak every day. Your words, your tongue, your mouth, determines the direction and the quality of your life. It determines the direction and the quality of your family's life. It determines the direction and quality of your kid's life, of your co-worker's life, of your roommate's life, if you have those. This constant thing needs constant attention. So the question comes, what do we do? And I was, because I'm funny like that, as I was preparing this message, I almost was like, well, James doesn't tell you good luck. Right? But that wouldn't be very pastoral, and there might actually be an elders meeting after that. So that's the question, right? What do we do? What do we do with this fire-starting, powerful thing that has the potential to corrupt everything in our side of our bodies? What do we do? I'm going to give you 3 words that I believe can help you guard, because that's the best I think we can really do, is put guardrails up about the words that we speak. Guard when it comes to the words that we speak. The first word is to remember. Okay? Remember that the Bible tells us that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. When James was talking about the world of wickedness, I think he's talking about our hearts. Because if you hate in your heart, and I've done several messages talking about heart diseases, like anger is a heart disease, guilt is a heart disease, greed is a heart disease, right? These are things that happen inside of our hearts that prevent us from moving in the directions of good. And then out of that abundance of whatever's going on with our heart, our mouth speaks. So if you're greedy, you talk about me a lot. If you're guilty, you're always apologizing because you always feel guilt. If you're angry, well, we all know what angry people look like. The world owes them everything. And then remember the power that you have. Right? Even though that you might not feel like it, even though you don't feel like you're a very powerful person, remember that you are a very powerful, because as we learned today, your tongue has the power to direct your entire life. Amen. The life of your family, the life of your kids, the life of those that you love most. So remember the next time you get mad. Remember the next time you get frustrated. Remember that you were born with your pilot light lit. And at any moment, you have the potential to do great good or great evil. Realistically, your power is unlimited. And I like this illustration. Superman. All right? Nothing hurts Superman except for kryptonite. He came to Earth to be a hero for Earth. But what would have happened if Superman's words were that of evil? What would we have done? Because his words actually had more power than he ever had. So remember. The second word is to surrender. Okay? Surrender your tongues as a living sacrifice. This comes from the letter that Paul wrote to the church at Romans. Romans 12, it tells us to sacrifice, to offer our bodies as living sacrifices to God, or offer the members of our bodies as living sacrifices to God. So when I wake up in the morning, one of the things I try to do is I try to pray, God, use these hands today. I'm offering these hands to you as a living sacrifice. That I go out to the world to do what you want me to do with these hands. I offer these feet as a living sacrifice to go where you are pointing and directing me. Oh, God, I offer these eyes that I have a covenant like I have, that I don't look at anything outside of what happens between me and Carol, because my eyes are set on you and my relationship with my wife. Amen. God, I offer you my mouth, my tongue. Amen. That the words that I speak are life-giving. That they set people's lives on fire for you, not to destroy their lives. Amen. Or what if your prayer was just this simple? Now this is going to bring back some memories. Ready? Heavenly Father, remind me to be quick to listen, slow to speak. Quick to listen, slow to speak. How ironic is it that I'm up here talking about words when I talked about quick to listen and slow to speak just 2 weeks ago? So I'm challenging you, I'm challenging me. Surrender your tongue every day to the Father. Let Him help you. Guard your tongue against setting fires that you are going to be held responsible for. And the last word is confess. I was going to put confessor so that it would rhyme with everything else. Remember, surrender, confessor. That's not a word, so it didn't work. But you're all never going to forget it now because I just did that. And that's, so that what I'm saying here is that when you mess up, because we all mess up, it's not an if, it's a when. Have any of you ever hurt somebody with your words? Yes. Have any of you not done it? Don't talk to me afterwards if you say yes. Other things to talk. Okay, anyways. So James is talking about that those words that come out, when those words do come out, those fire-starting words, don't try to explain your way out of it. Don't try to excuse your way out of it. Own it. And start doing whatever you have to do to confess the fact that you messed up with your words and that you were trying to put out the fire quicker so that it doesn't spray it and cause more damage. Confess the fact that you messed up. And that there might be a bigger issue with your heart that you need to deal with to confess so that your words bring life instead of death.
It's good.
And if you don't hear anything else I say today, if you have a family, how many of you have a family? I got a family. I got one of them here. Actually, you guys are all my family. I love you all. I want you all to understand this, that there is zero place for sarcasm in your family. There's zero, absolutely no place for sarcasm in your marriage. And I tell you this, beyond a shadow of doubt, there is zero place for sarcasm when it comes to you being a parent. I like to say it like this. This is what we say at our house. There's no love in sarcasm. None. None. Even though we might get a laugh at that sarcastic word that comes out of our mouth, you have no clue what those sarcastic words are doing to your kids, to your brothers, to your moms, to your sisters, to anybody that's in your family when you speak them. They might laugh outside, but you're killing them inside. So confess it. Don't wait. Because like we talked about at the beginning, words are not weighted the same. Recovery times are not weighted the same. Who says those words are not weighted the same? So dads, remember, when it comes to the relationships of parent to kid, your words weigh more than anything. You have the potential to do great harm to your kids simply by the words that you speak. And those same words have the potential to bring great life and restoration just by the words that you speak. So remember, kids, here's the good news. That's everybody in this building. We are all somebody's kid. When it comes to the relationship with you have your parents, yes, their dad's words mean the word most to you, but your words to your parents weigh more on them than any other words that people speak in their life. And the example I have of this, it just happened. I don't know how many of you watched This Is Us, but there was an episode just that recently happened where Randall, who's the adopted black child of Mandy Moore and her husband, I can't remember, Jackie, whatever. Anyways, that his daughter, his oldest daughter, has anxiety, just like he does. And it was the one thing that he never wanted to pass down to his daughter, and his daughter looked at him square in the face and says, I want nothing, I don't ever want to be like you. And instantly, you can see that his demeanor changed because of the words his daughter spoke to him. Because it's weighted so much. Because that's my baby girl, I don't want to hurt her. So remember, kids, the words you speak to your parents weigh the heaviest on their hearts. And I know you don't believe this because we're all like, well, it's just my mom. It's just my dad. There's no such thing as just my mom or just my dad. Regardless of your age, your words to your parents weigh most on their hearts. Remember that. Ladies, I know we look tough and we're buff and we act like nothing hurts us, but I promise you, your words when you speak to us hurt. Guys, I'm sorry, but I'm going to tell them the truth. Our egos are fragile. And your words, ladies, to us have the potential to do great damage. Because though we look tough, we're not. Men, and I'm probably most passionate about this, men, your words should bring nothing but honor to women.
Amen.
Nothing but honor to women. James talks about dear brothers and sisters. We are joint heirs in Christ. It's not just the guys anymore. They are the same. They're equal to us in the eyes of God. Your words should bring nothing but honor to women. When women are around, your words should honor women. When women aren't around, they should honor women even more. Because I can tell you this, that's the world you want your daughter to grow up in. I can tell you this, that's the world I want my daughter to grow up in. So again, it comes down to remembering what? To be quick to listen. Quick to listen. And slow to speak. So I want to go ahead and ask the worship team to come up here. As we're getting ready to bring this thing to a close. Somebody that turned off the air conditioner. It's just me. This doesn't surprise me either. I gotta ask everybody here something. For the sake of the next generation, if you're one of those people that grew up in a house where words were used against you, and that you have deep-rooted roots of anger and bitterness and resentment towards your parents or towards somebody that helped raise you, I'm asking you for the sake of the next generation, because here at New Day Church, we want to raise up the next generation of Christ followers. Here at New Day Church, that's what we believe, that's our heart, that's our passion. For the sake of the next generation, do not repeat the cycle. You're inclined to repeat it. You are. Wow, that scared the bejesus out of me. Thank you. Woo! Thank you, Jesus. Just help him to make a point, see? Where was I? You're inclined to repeat it because that's what you've experienced. And you might have even already caught yourself using those words to your kids. Right? So today, I'm asking you today to decide to break the cycle. 2 for 2.
It's turning on.
Just mute her microphone, please. For the love of my heart. 2 for 2. Love it. Okay? So, break the cycle. Don't repeat it for the sake of those that are coming up underneath you. Those kids that love you, that look up to you and honor you. Don't repeat the cycle. So, final thoughts. Though we cannot tame that fire-wielding tongue, and though we all have our pilot lights lit from the day we were born, with God's grace and a whole bunch of thoughtfulness on your part, we can guard ourselves against using words that can set fires that we can no longer put out. Let's pray. So, Father, this morning we just thank you for these words that James, your brother Jesus, that James wrote. Telling us that our tongues are supernaturally different than anything else in the world. Where nothing in nature, fig trees can't grow grapes and grapevines can't grow figs. Our tongues can speak both evil and praises out of the same thing. So Father, this morning I just ask that you pour your Spirit upon this church, Father, that if there's any heart issues that are helping us, that are causing us to spew out, because out of the abundance of our hearts, our mouth speaks. If there's anything in our hearts that need to be dealt with, so that the words we speak are life-giving, Father, I just right now, Holy Spirit, speak to their hearts. And make it clear. Make it clear that there's no room for sarcasm. There's no room for bitterness. There's no room for anger and resentment. That you called us to love those who were unlovable. So I ask you to speak to our hearts this morning. To give us the wisdom to understand what is truly happening in our lives. What is truly happening with our words. And help us to remember the power we have. Help us to surrender our tongues to you daily. And help us to confess our sins when we make those mistakes. That we do not wait to put out the fire. That it's a quick and easy response, because we know that the fire has to be put out so we don't destroy their lives. Because you called us to love those. Because you love those. So Father, as we sing this long song, that it talks about how we're amazed by you. I ask that you just speak to our hearts and show us that amazing love that you have for us, so that our hearts might be cleaned and our tongues might speak life, as the great Toby Man says. That our words bring life. And if you're here this morning, you've never given your life to Jesus, the ball's in your court. You have to speak words to God to let him know that you want him to come and live in your heart, to give you the opportunity to know him personally, so that you can know God, so that he can help you find freedom with those heart issues, so that you can discover your purpose, so that you can move forward and make a difference. And if you're here this morning, I'm going to ask you to take a step of faith. You can raise your hands here tonight if you're here. And if you're here this morning and you feel that you've wandered away from God, and you let the world creep back in, and you stop living on fire for God, and your words are being venomous and poisonous and destroying relationships in your life. If that's you here this morning, I'm going to ask you to raise your hands as well. And you have to be courageous. You can't sit there and wait. You have to be courageous. You have to confess your sins, so that there can be healing in your heart. And if that's you here this morning, I'm going to ask you right now, in the name of Jesus, raise your hand. Thank you, Jesus. Father, I just pray right now that those who raise their hands, that you give them a supernatural touch of your love. That as we sing this last song, you give them the words to speak supernaturally. Though our tongues are unnatural, God, you are supernatural. You have the ability to stop any foul and mean words coming out of our mouths. So, Father, right now, for those who raise their hands, I ask you to just touch their tongues, touch their hearts, so that there's no anger, there's no greed, there's no guilt, there's no condemnation of those who know Christ. And I ask these things in the most powerful name of Jesus. Every knee shall bow, every tongue shall confess that he is King. And we ask these things in that most powerful and precious name.